So hello everybody, welcome back. I hope that you like this video and that you find it helpful and also entertainment. So now that we are set, then grab your coffee, and if you wanted to share one with me while you're at it, links for that down below. And so just as food is not about food, then caffeine and certain drinks are not just about drinks and caffeine. So having said that, then I'm going to ask several questions, and then you may understand, the depth of this situation and the depth of this whole process, because caffeine, as in coffee or teas or drinks, because caffeine can also be bought in medicines, and it can also be bought in pill forms. This is going to be way, way, way bigger than what you are thinking. So, number one, when was the last time that you have talked to one person that drinks only, and I do mean only water through the day? Okay, so I guess that the answer is no. People drink a lot of stuff other than water. Second question, what do you think will happen if, let's say that 3 days from now, the only thing that you are able to drink is just water? Like, let's say for 48 hours, you cannot drink anything other than water. I mean, you can eat anything, but you can only drink water for 48 hours. What do you think your life might look like if that were to happen? And how about if not just you, but your whole family is in the same situation? See, now we're getting bigger, because it's not just you who is going to be, fighting withdrawal symptoms for caffeine and a lot of other things, but now your family. Now let's say that, this is not a situation that is affecting just your family, but let's say that you live in a building, and then in the whole complex or in your whole block, no one has any kind of drinks, and all there is just water for 48 hours. What do you think is going to happen? Now, you're thinking most of the times, that you can deal with this. So, I'm sorry, I get interrupted all the time. So, like I was saying, the universal idea behind this topic about caffeine and all of that is the fact that people do not like drinking just water, period. And because of that, men, by the way, women and men will react differently to this. In early times, let's say, 16th century, 15th century, whatever, even ancient times, people will look for substitutes for water, okay? And at this point, depending upon where you are, you can have certain things. So, for example, if you were in India, people started drinking tea. If you were in China, people started drinking tea. However, if you are in Europe, and if you were in the US, the alternative was not tea. The alternative was actually beer and other alcoholic beverages. Now, if you are a man, you have to understand that between you and a woman, there is a huge difference in brain processes and brain chemistry. And also, this means that if there is someone who is going to be very, very likely to develop alcoholism or drug addictions and things like that, it will be the man. I'm not saying that women cannot. I'm saying that your brain chemistry and your male energy will absolutely play a role against you in this process. And so, if the alternative to water was beer, what do you think is going to happen to men? Men will become crazy. And at this point, I can tell you that there was huge problems, obviously, because the daily beverage was beer. And if you are a man and you want to drink something else, you're not very likely going to go along with that. Women, on the other hand, we don't have the same experience when we're dealing with alcoholism or even drug addictions. We do it differently. And because of this, you have to understand the role of caffeine. Because at this point, there was problems because obviously, you have people on the street who are drunk all the time. And these are men, mostly. And because, men like drinking more frequently than women. The reason why men will drink more frequently than women is because they understand, kind of like subconsciously, that they need more minerals and things that are meant to be in the water. Because you have a different consumption in terms of your muscles. You are a guy, so obviously you have, stronger muscles and stronger things in your body, and therefore you need more minerals and more things than women. Women, on the other hand, need more minerals and things, but for her brain, not so much, for the muscle part. And so, if you are a guy and you are strong and you're moving and you're doing a lot of things, because, men are not going to stop being men, and they are not going to stop being, gentlemen, and they're going to do a lot of moving things, heavy things, and they are going to try to, run and do exercises and do a lot of things. That means that you need more minerals and things like this. And then you also need more drinking, because obviously you're going to also sweat more and things like this. And so, if you are already in a situation in which your brain is playing against you, if you develop some sort of addiction, you see, like I said, you're a woman, if you develop an addiction, you are going to have different ways to deal with that. But if you're a man, not so much. And so, if you are developing, alcoholism, because there is no alternative between beer and water, and then on top of the fact that you're a man and you're probably not going to be able to fight that addiction as easy as a woman, you also have the problem that you require more drinking. What do you think is going to happen to you as a man? And so at this point, men are creating such a problem for everybody. And so the people in charge needed to create an alternative. Seriously, because it was just too bad. And then they develop the idea or the culture about tea. But tea was imported. That means very expensive. So if you have to pay, let's say, 10 cents for a beer versus $1 for, one cup of tea, and you are a man, and you are not going to be satisfied with just one tea or one drink. You probably need, let's say, 5. A woman will probably need 3 drinks in a day. You probably need 5. It's just a comparison, by the way. That's not the actual number, but I'm just saying the comparison. And so you need 5. So you're going to spend $5 instead of 50 cents. Yeah. I wonder how much you can endure that one if you're not rich and if you're not from the elite things. And so this was beginning to be even a bigger problem, because the alternative between water and beer, and like I said, men will very, very, very likely will always avoid drinking the water, because now they have the problem with the addiction and the problem that they need more nutrients and things, and they need all the things. And what is the alternative? You get the teas, but the problem is, like I said, the cost. And so there were huge influences at this point, because also you have to understand that when there is no alternative of drinking, people will develop their own drinks at home. And I have mentioned this before in other videos. Every week, you will find that there are people dead and kids dead. Seriously, just dead because they drank alcohol that people make at their houses. Because people do not understand the process of fermentation properly. There are two types of fermentation. The one that is aerobic and the one that is anaerobic. And, if you do not understand this one, then you're thinking, I can just make my beer because 10 cents I can't afford. And there will be people that go like that. Seriously, I can't afford 10 cents, so I'm going to make it myself, and that way it will cost me 5 cents. Yeah, but it just costs your life because you have no idea what you're doing. And so, try to imagine this. This is a scenario right now all over your country. If you are in Europe or if you are, in the United States or Canada. Because, you see, coffee is imported. Tea is imported. And these two things have caffeine. I have mentioned right now, caffeine is a drug that will make you addicted. If you are a man, you will be severely affected by anything that makes you feel a little bit addicted. A woman, on the other hand, might not be so susceptible as you. So, however, if a woman is going through the process of this, she will become more aggressive. And you, on the other hand, are going to be very frustrated. And so, all of these things, try to imagine all of the adults in a society for 48 hours in which there is no caffeine. No caffeine meaning no tea and no coffee. And nothing that has to do with that. And then you're thinking, yeah, but I have never drank caffeine and I never like tea and I never... Yeah, but you probably consume caffeine in other forms right now. Because medicine also has caffeine. Desserts, like, they also, some of them also have caffeine. So even, let's say that this is even further because it's not just caffeine, but let's say that the cocoa beans, as in chocolate, is also imported. And then you don't have chocolate either. And so now you can't have, those things, and they are things that make you addicted. And not only that, but you need an alternative, because if you are a regular person, it's just such a mental shock to just drink water for 48 hours that almost, if you put 1,000 people to do it, you might be, I don't know, let's say, I'm guessing, but I'm willing to bet on this one. Let's say only 50 people out of 1,000, and I am being generous. 50 people will be totally okay about drinking just water. Everybody else will be like, what? What? No. Where is my coffee? Where is my tea? Where is my Pepsi? Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and all of those drinks also have caffeine. So, also imported. So, you are not affording any of those things. And I do mean any of those things. Because anything that is imported will be just for the elite people. And it will also be severely restricted. Because people who import these things will go bankrupt. And so if there were 20 companies that used to import coffee and things like this, and now people cannot afford coffee and anything like this, but only the elite, then that means that 9 companies out of these 10 companies will go bankrupt. And then there will be only one or two companies that will stand by. And if there is only one or two companies, that means that it's also going to be a delay in you getting the coffee, in you getting whatever it is, the tea or whatever. And so at this point, people will start developing their own drinking. And that is going to be also a huge mental shock. And not just a mental shock, but it is going to create a huge frustration in men, and it's going to create huge aggressiveness in women. Because women will be kind of like, I don't have my coffee, I don't have this, or I don't have that. And then you will be angry. And as a woman, you will be aggressive about it. So you might even be, kind of pissed at if you are with a man, you might be kind of like, we don't have coffee and this is partially your fault and things like this. And then you will have problems at home because there is no coffee. And you're thinking, oh, come on, it's just, it's just a thing. No, it's not. Because every time that you sit down, I mean, come on, seriously. How many times in a day do you just stop to try to drink something hot, meaning tea or coffee? How many times do you do it? And I wonder how many days will you be able to go straight without having that? The mental shock is going to be too big. The impact in your money is going to be huge. Because at this point, men will do anything to try to get those things for their woman and things like this. Because, it's kind of like, okay, if I don't bring coffee to my wife, she's probably going to kill me. Because, and then you as a guy are also probably going to be way worse. Because you as a guy are going to be kind of like, yeah, where is my energy drink? Because you see, right now, men consume huge, and I do mean like huge, beyond your even imagination. Because you don't understand the patterns of people until you actually are missing something. When you are missing something, you go, oh my God. I'm going to tell you a story, a joke that we have here. There was a lion in a company, okay? The lion was, it escaped the zoo and it ate food, and it started being in the company, and he ate one person daily. And nobody noticed the lion. Nobody, never. Ever. Like, he ate 20 people in the company before anybody noticed the lion. And then finally, he was caught on day 21. And then people asked, how come nobody missed, the 20 people or something? How come we didn't miss this or that? And then the animals at the zoo asked, what happened to you? I mean, you were over 20 days and all of these things. And then he said, yeah, I could have gone longer. Yeah, so what happened? What did, so that we don't screw up like you if we escape? Yeah, on day 21, I made a mistake. Okay, what is it? I killed or I ate the guy who brought the coffee. I ate the guy who brought the coffee and I didn't know. And everybody started looking for him, and I got caught because of that. So, seriously, that tells you something. People are not going to miss, a lot of things, but they are certainly going to miss the people that, the ones that bring you the coffee and the tea. And that is because, we are human beings. And that means that we even socialize through drinking. And in fact, it has been proven that when you are in a party, you are more likely to open up and to be okay if you have something to drink in your hand. This is why a lot of people will drink a lot of alcohol, especially in parties. And a lot of women will understand this, and that's why women will hold what we call tea parties and things like that. Because if you have something warm in your hand, like a cup of tea, there is an emotional attachment to that. And if there is no longer tea because you can't afford tea, and that tea also has the caffeine, meaning it's giving you the energy that you need to get through the day, then you will have several problems. Number one, you are missing the emotional link to this thing. Number two, you are missing the caffeine, the actual effect on your body from the caffeine, meaning the energy boost. And if you don't have that energy boost, your hormones are going to react differently. And if you were already addicted to caffeine, like men are probably right now, then you need not just a substitute, but you also need to figure out how you are going to go through the withdrawal period with no money. And even if you have the money, then how are you going to do it if this thing is imported and you cannot find it? Because there are not enough companies that will bring this thing. And the demand is just, it's just going to be kind of like, okay, I'm a company that brings the coffee, and I'm only going to give the coffee to Starbucks, for example. And that is because, companies that know this, they will make contracts of exclusivity. Because if you had 10 companies that bring the coffee before, but now there is only one, and this company has to handle, 100 clients. And that means that you have to wait on all of these things, but you are a company like Starbucks that depends upon this thing. They're going to be like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing an exclusivity contract thing. And then, you are bringing me the coffee because if I don't have the coffee, what am I going to sell in my store? And therefore, there will be monopolies. And only the people who are extremely rich will be able to afford these caffeine products. And that is because it's imported. See, my country produces coffee. And we have gone without coffee for sometimes even a period of 1 year. And you have no idea how bad it was and how bad it is. Because no caffeine means people are pissed. Not only that, but people will pay, and there will be counterfeited like crazy. It's insane, their counterfeited process. Seriously, you go to the supermarket, and even right now, they will sell you something that is black in the package, but it is not coffee, to the point in which, let's say that you used to consume a brand, and this brand was Mr. Coffee. And I got interrupted again by a phone call, so now I gotta go. So finishing up, I just wanted to let you know that caffeine is not about caffeine, and you might need an alternative for anything that has caffeine on it. And that means medicine, drinks, and not only that, but the desserts. And you might need to watch out, for counterfeiting. And you might also need to understand how to get, the coffee and the tea in black markets and things like this. And for this, you might need to understand how to recognize tea that it is actual tea Because now tea, you get it in bags, but the tea that you're going to get, in hard times, is going to be imported into the actual leaves. And then you will need to understand how to make it, with the proper measurement, and understand whether the leaves are actual leaves for teas and things like this. If they are, fragrant and all of these things, which is going to be a process. And most people will just not go through the process because, doing things in a different way, like you measuring, you trying to figure out if this one is stale or not stale, you figuring out if this one, is counterfeited or not, and things like this. It's just not easy. But it is going to be one of those things that, nobody tells you that you're going to go through, and is going to, yeah, it's going to be one of those things that you go, seriously, not again. Yeah.